Hey guys, welcome to today's video. In this video, let's create a mushroom character. So at the moment, there is a 3D challenge that is happening on my Discord channel, which there's going to be a link right below this video. Please check it out and join. All right, so to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Subtools. And to begin, I'm going to simply insert a cylinder. And let's just start with that, right? And what I'm going to do now is let's go ahead and hide, let's delete this sphere. So we're just going to focus on the cylinder. We'll bring the sphere in a second. But let's say this is going to be the base of the character. So what I'm going to do now is go to Move. And I would love to create a little bit of a taper effect for my for my mushroom character. I don't like this curve right here, so I'm actually going to change that a little bit, right? And just have kind of a wider base and do something like this. Let's say I like this. I'm going to go to my gear and say accept. Now I have this, right? I wouldn't mind making it just a little bit longer and of course maybe a little bit smaller. And this right here is going to be sort of like the body of the character, right? I think that's going to be really perfect. I don't really want it to be so low resolution, so I am going to press Ctrl D a few times until it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to go to geometry and I could delete lower or I can jump into Dynamesh. Potato, it's going to be the same thing, right? When you press Dynamesh, if you have subdivision levels, it's going to ask you if you want to keep them or delete them. In this instance, I actually don't need them. I kind of want to go into this Dynamesh clay mode, right? And let's go ahead and polish this, get rid of kind of any imperfections that we're seeing. And now it's nice and smooth. All right, so now I have this as my base, okay? And actually, let me polish this a little more. Maybe I want to get rid of some of this there as well. All right, very cool. Let's go ahead and continue. The next thing I would like to do is let's give our character some arms, right? There's many different ways to do it, but I think we should just simply pull them out. And to do this, I'm going to use a snake hook. And here, let me press S. And let's find something called a snake hook. There's one right here. I'm going to go ahead and say, it's asking me, ZBrush is asking me if I want to turn on Sculpting Pro. I'm going to say OK, and I am going to turn it on, right? And turning on Sculpting Pro for anyone who is new just means that you can infinitely pull out geometry without worrying the geometry is going to lose its resolution. So essentially, it's going to dynamically dynamesh as you pull stuff out. A really cool feature and very powerful and perfect for monsters or kind of a organic looking characters. So I'm going to press X and let me think about this. I just want to literally pull out a couple arms, right? So I'm going to do something like this. Let me make my brush a little bit larger and just pull this out. And that's going to be kind of the top part of my arm. And now I'm just gonna let's make this a little bit smaller and just kind of continue pulling it to the bottom. Right now I have this. That is pretty cool. Let me inflate this a little, and let me redynamesh this. Okay, I like this. This is great. Now I need some fingers, and again, this is going to be almost like a little monster, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him some thumbs. So I'm just going to pull out a thumb. And let's just decide on how many fingers he needs, maybe 3. So I'll do 1, and I'll do 2, and I'll just do 1 more. It's going to be kind of a crazy forest-looking character here, a creature, right? I would like to give him just a little bit more of an elbow. It feels like I'm missing an elbow, maybe something like that, okay? I'm going to switch to my move brush, and I would love to make my fingers just a little bit longer, just a little more spooky or scary, right? So I don't mind the thumb being a little bit shorter, but I want the fingers to be longer. So let me pull these down. All right, so let's say I want to make these a little bit thicker. Let me jump out of the Sculpting Pro, grab my inflate brush, and I can literally just very carefully inflate these and make them a little thicker, right? I could do that. I could also grab my move brush, and if I wanted to, I can add a little more movement to these so they're a little more interesting, right? Instead of just being kind of a, sausages just sitting there, maybe I want to create a little more of a movement, right? And that right there is already a little more interesting. I like this. Let me go to inflate, and let's say I want to give him a little more of a hand feel. So let me go ahead and do that, right? Just create something with a little more shape. So let's do that. Right, here's going to be his hand, and out of the hand are coming out these fingers, right? Let's go ahead and do control and drag to redynamesh. And when you redynamesh, you can see the topology was kind of reset. And you can see that now everything is sort of nice and even, right? So that is pretty cool and very easy to do. Let's continue playing. I'm going to grab my move brush, make it just a little bit larger. And let's say I want to change the size of this shape here. One thing I could do is I can turn on radial. And right now it's going in the wrong direction. So instead of X, let me switch it to Z. Not Z, I'm sorry, Y. Right? This is a little bit better. Now what I can do is I can literally sculpt this using 8 points, 8 radial points, which is really cool. I can make my mushroom a little bit thicker or a little bit thinner, whatever you like. But I'm just trying to create something a little more custom and more interesting than what I had before. So maybe I have something like this. All right, it's already starting to look very organic, right? Let's jump out of the radial. We don't want that anymore. And maybe one other thing I could do is just give him a little bit of a curve here. Right now his back kind of looking super boring and straight. All right, so let's adjust the back, and you can see what that's giving us. It's giving us a little bit that of a, kind of a creepy feel, which is kind of cool for a monster, right? I wouldn't mind to do, before we give him a hat, let's give him some kind of a mouth, right? So how do we do that? And that could be something as simple as, I'm just gonna grab my move brush and literally just take this portion here, just decide where do I want the mouth to be, maybe like here. And I'm literally just gonna take this and just pull it in, something like this, okay? And I'm gonna pull it in even more, just a little more, right? Now I could shape this. Let me, for example, maybe do something like this. Maybe he's screaming. The guy is not in the good mood and he's yelling at us, right? So he's gonna be yelling, and so I can really pull back his mouth a lot, right? Something like that. We'll give him a couple teeth, right? Another thing we could do is maybe let's do control and drag to redynamesh this. And you know what? I actually wouldn't mind increasing my resolution at this point. I'm only working with 113,000 points. Let me go to 256 to increase it a little more. Control drag to it didn't work, right? I need to, in ZBrush it's kind of funny, but sometimes you have to touch something in order for Dynamesh to work. So I'm going to press shift and just kind of smooth this just a little bit, make a change to the shape. And now if I do control and drag, you can see I just went from 113,000 to 450,000. So I know Dynamesh actually did work this time. All right, cool little trick. All right, let's continue. I'm going to grab my move, and I wouldn't mind pulling down something that looks like, like teeth, right? So let's polish this a little, make this a little bit smoother, right? And with this move brush, I'm going to turn on my AccuCurve, right? Make my brush a little bit smaller, active symmetry is on, and I can literally take some of these shapes here and just start pulling them down and creating something that looks a lot like some kind of a, I don't know, mushroom teeth, maybe something like that. I do need to be mindful about the angle I'm doing this at, right? So that's going to be important. I actually like that they're going different directions. Let me do maybe some here as well. All right, so that's interesting. I kind of like this. Very spooky. Let's do control and drag to redynamesh. Let's do a little bit of if we want to inflate this a little, we can. Just inflate this just a little. Just make it a little thicker. Control drag to redynamesh. Maybe do a little bit of a polish. It's kind of a dance between all these tools. And if you like these, if you like my UI, it's on the bottom of every video. You can just grab it. But just something that I'm used to. Knowing where my buttons are, right? I'm gonna hold on the shift key, smooth this out. Now I have something like this. Really cool. I don't think I'm gonna give him legs or anything. I kind of like this shape right here. I wouldn't mind giving him a little more interesting details on his body. To me right now this feels somewhat boring, right? So using the move brush, let's just go around with the AccuCurve still selected, kind of angle this a little and just start pulling these down. And by pulling this down, I can create not a skirt, but I'm just giving him kind of a mushroom waist. I don't know if that's a thing, but to me that looks pretty cool. Let's do Control drag to Dynamesh, hold on the Shift key, you can smooth this. Really I want to blend this part up with the body a little more. Now I have this, right? So that was pretty fun. Finally, let's give him some eyes. I feel like he needs some eyes. I'm gonna go to Inflate, hold down, let's actually just do a sub on the Inflate. Maybe turn this up a little more to like 30. And let's just simply press this right here and just create something that looks like, they look like eyes. And you know what? I feel like they're too large for some reason. I want them to be a little bit smaller and closer together. That's kind of my vision. Something like this I think is pretty cool. Now since we have these, let's insert some cylinders into these sockets. So I'm gonna go to my subtool and I'm gonna do insert a sphere. Grab my move, let me move this up and scale this down. So essentially this is gonna be his eye, right? Something like this, and let's go ahead and move it into position, make it a little bit smaller. And you know, just make sure it kind of fits in there. And maybe something along these lines is pretty perfect, right? Now, how do I copy this eye to the other side? Well, I can just make sure that it's on the left side, and then I can do mirror and weld, and that's gonna clone it, right? They're still gonna be on the same layer. So that's perfect. I like that. Let me see what else can we do. I think the next thing we should do is let's give him something that looks like a hat, right? To do that, I'm gonna insert a, let's think about this. There's so many ways we can do a mushroom. I guess even this right here makes sense, but I'm thinking of something a little more unique, right? Let's just grab a sphere and just play with the sphere. So I'm gonna jump out of the perspective view, grab this, put this into position, and what I'm gonna do next is just gonna smoosh this a little bit, maybe move this a little bit lower. And what I would like to do is I want to make this larger. So this is going to be like the size of his top part of the mushroom. Maybe squish this a little more and just do something like this, right? Now a couple things actually. I would like the head to be connected to this mushroom. So it's essentially like one mesh. Right now it's two pieces. How do I do that? And on top of that, I also wouldn't mind adding some volume up here as well. So adding the volume is easy, right? I can just simply grab my move, make it super large, and literally just, why not just pull this up? And of course, I don't really need AccuCurve anymore, but I can just pull this up and just make it look like a mushroom of some sort. To make it even, I could turn on my active symmetry and just make sure that I know where the center is and just pull this up. And you know, there's really, I want this to be organic and uneven. I don't want it to be perfect. So even this right here is pretty perfect. So I think even this right here should work, right? To me, that looks like a mushroom head. I'm gonna grab my move and just literally just put this into position. And maybe, let's do some fun stuff. Let's connect this. How do I connect this to this? Well, what I could do is I can turn this top part into Dynamesh as well, right? And as you remember, the body of the mushroom is currently 256. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to turn it into 256 Dynamesh, right? Now they're the same. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up and put them next to each other, okay? Very cool. Now I would love to merge them together, right? Before I merge them, I can polish this. I can, you know, clean this up a little. All right, so before I connect them, I actually wouldn't mind expanding the head a little bit taller into the mushroom. So let me select the body, hide the mushroom, right? And I just want to literally just expand this head up. Grabbing my move, I think I could just take it and just literally pull it up. Something like that. And that's what I want. I want this to be inside the mushroom part, right? Very cool. Let's go ahead and unhide the mushroom, and you can see what that looks like. Now it looks like it's connected. All right, I like that. Couple more things. Let's go ahead and connect them together. So I'm gonna literally go to merge and do a merge down and say okay. Now you can see they're both on the same layer, which means I can do control and drag to infuse them together. When I infuse them together, you can see how it looks like it's kind of literally welded together, right? Which is awesome. So now I can hold on the shift key and literally just, actually let me insert, increase my intensity for my shift. And I can just go around and just kind of blend this in and make it look like, you know, once again, like this is one solid mesh instead of two different pieces, right? All right, so that was pretty cool. All right, let's continue. The next thing I'm gonna do is let me grab my move, and I wouldn't mind making this to be a little bit larger. It feels like the head is small, and I really don't want it to be even. Like I'm literally making this, I'm breaking this up, right? Making it a little more organic looking, right? So that's pretty cool. Now, a couple more things. I actually wouldn't mind if these fingers were much longer. I feel like they are way too short and not creepy enough. Let's go ahead and make them something a little more like this. Let's go ahead and also add a little more kind of movement to this, right? So maybe we can do something like this and just maybe pull this back a little. And there's going to be the elbows right here, but I want to create more of a, you know, just a little more movement there, right? Again, I think that's better, right? A couple more things. I actually wouldn't mind, you see right now, everything kind of looks very smooth and somewhat boring. We need to add a little bit of a texture to this guy. How do we do that? So there's a couple easy ways of doing it to create more detail. One way we could do it is, let's go ahead and go to standard. Let's select something like the spray, and let's just select something, you know, something noisy, right? I'm thinking of even like this alpha 07. Make our brush super large. Let's go ahead and turn the intensity way down, and we'll do, let's do an add. So intensity is at 8. And what I can do is I can just start spraying this with noise. And by doing that, you can see I'm going to start breaking this surface up and making it feel a little more unique and interesting. I could do the same thing with this mushroom head up here, right? Just do something like this. And I have enough resolution, so it's going to hold the res really nicely, right? And just doing even this right here is already, I think, much better, right? Let's go ahead and add a little more. That's fine. I wouldn't mind adding some lines on the inside part of this here. How would I do that? Next, let's go ahead and grab something like the Damien standard, turn our lazy mouse on, and I'm gonna go into a sub mode with intensity of like 40, something like 40, and I literally just want to add some lines here. And we can blend this together in a second, but let's just go around the character and create something that looks, you know, something like this, right? So there's gonna, like, these lines are coming out from his head on the bottom of the mushroom. So I could do that very quickly and just add a couple more. All right, you can see what that looks like. I think that's pretty cool. Another thing I can do is I can also grab my pinch, and I'm literally just playing around right now, right? You can just pinch these and make them look like they are kind of blending into that shape right there, right? So we can go around and do that real quick. All right, I think that's pretty cool. Let's see, what else can we do? I think we need some emotion on this guy. He needs to be just a little more angry. All right, so to build those brows, let's just grab the inflate brush. And I do have active symmetry still on, but I just want to, oops, let's do add. And let's just inflate maybe this right here. And just give him something that looks a little more angry, right? I think that's pretty cool. Maybe we can inflate all this here too. Just give him, not a nose, but something like a nose bridge, right? So maybe we could do that. Holding down the shift key, I can smooth this a little. I can do control and drag to redynamesh, And now what I can do is I can grab something like the trim dynamic, and I can just press some of this. Let me do a little more intensity, but I can literally just press this and create something a little more interesting, right? It's a little more flat, like a plane versus like a blob, right? Big difference. So let's do that. Control drag to redynamesh. Holding down the shift key, we can always smooth any of this if you want to, but you can see what I did. I just created almost like a nose with a couple eyebrows. And if I wanted to make it a little more dramatic, I can always grab my move brush and literally just let me jump out of the symmetry and literally just start pulling this down, right? Maybe this eye is a little bit lower, you know, and this one is a little bit higher, and I can create a little bit of a movement, right? So something like this is already more unique than we had before. I'm not loving this here. Maybe I can pinch this. Let me actually pinch it and just create something a little more sharp. I think that works. Let's see, what else can we do? Let's add some detail up here to this mushroom here. I can go to standard brush. Let's do something like a drag dot. Let's do alpha 6, for example. Give us a lot more intensity, and let's see if we can just drag something like a, you know, like a ball, right? Let's go do a little more. So just even this right here, I can go around and just add some of these randomly, right? Just a couple blobs. Let's do a smaller one, maybe in between, right? Kind of randomly position them, and maybe just one here, do an even smaller one. And just very quickly, what I'm doing is I'm just breaking that surface up and creating something a little more unique, right? Maybe even smaller here. And check this out very quickly, right? I was able to create something fun. All right, I like that. Let's see, what else can we do? I think another thing we can do is let's give our guy some kind of a tongue. I feel like he needs a tongue in there. Let's insert a sphere, right? And I'm going to jump out of the perspective view, grab my move brush. Let me put it in front and just do something like this. This is going to be his tongue right here, right? I can go in this view here and make it just a little more flat, or narrow, I guess I should say. Maybe I want to create a bend. I can just grab a move brush and just literally bend it. Make sure my active symmetry is on. So again, think of this as like a tongue, right? So maybe something crazy like this. That's cool. I want to actually inflate both sides of this. So that is going to make it look like a little, that's going to make it feel even more like a tongue, right? You have like two sides here like this. And that is pretty epic tongue, I think. All right, I think that's great. Let's go ahead and turn it into also 256 Dynamesh, right? Hold on the shift key, maybe smooth this. And now we have this. I think it's great. If you wanted to add some more detail to this, you could do the same thing. Instead of using drag dot, let's do a spray. Let me switch it to alpha 23, and let's just do a little bit of a spraying here. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of breaking the surface up, and very quickly, again, just adding noise essentially and making it feel more custom, right? If you want to do a little more, let's do that other trick where we do maybe alpha 6 with the drag and just add a couple, items right here on his tongue. Maybe just a little bit smaller. I'm going to turn off my active symmetry and just do a couple random ones, right? Maybe there's one, I don't know, one here, there's one here. I'm just having fun, right? So something like that is pretty great. Now to put this in his mouth, I'm going to grab my move and scale it down. And let's just literally just do something like that. We can angle it and decide if we like this. I think it needs to be maybe a little bit smaller. And I guess it should just be behind the teeth, right? So maybe even lower as well, right? So you can kind of see it, but it's behind those teeth. So I think that's cool. And you can see what it's doing. It's creating a little more depth, right? Let's go into perspective view and check out. I like it. So you can see the more detail you add, the more interesting it starts to look, right? Let's continue. Let's see what else can we do. Next, let's do this. Let's press Control key, make a selection on his head, and let's just make a selection maybe here as well. So let's do something like this. So I'm gonna do, grab like a big selection here and a small one here, right? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my slime bridge. Let's open that up. And in here, I'm gonna set tension to 0. Bridges, let's just do something like 15. And branches and capillaries, I'm gonna set to 0 and just do slime bridge. And check it out, it's gonna give us something really interesting. It's gonna give us like these tubes running from his head. And I kinda like it, I think it's really cool. I wouldn't mind doing a few more, right? Let's do some more. Let's just do something like this once again and do slime bridge again. And you can decide if you like this effect, but I do. I think it almost looks like creepy hair of some sort. Alright, well that's definitely going to create something super creepy, right? I don't think you can do it with multiple. I think it's one at a time, right? It's one selection because it needs 2 points. I think that's how slime bridge works. So I think you have to do it one at a time. It's not like I can make all of these selections, you know, all at once, right? And oh, this one is kind of creepy, really low, but I can fix that. And I could show you how to fix it. Check it out. If I wanted to just fix this one alone by itself, if you turn on your polyframe, you can see that all of these are actually different polygroups, which is interesting because you can select the move brush, make it super large, and activate something called mask by polygroups. If you turn that on, you should be able to just take individual piece and control it, right? You can change its position very easily. And, you know, you can even pull some down. Maybe I want to do another one that is, you know, maybe is down by itself, right? Just kind of break that, make it a little more random feeling, right? Just some pieces are just out of control, essentially. And you can decide if you like it. Now, what happens if you wanted to make them thicker, right? Right now, let's go ahead and turn this back down, actually. What if I want to make these tubes thicker after I created them? Is there a way to do that? And we can. The reason we can is because they are literally all different polygroups, right? So what does that mean? That means we can hide everything else. Check this out. I can do Control Shift and click on, let me click this twice, right? So I just hit that. I'm gonna hit the body. And if I wanted to hide, of course I can hide the tongue and the eyes as well. But now I just have these tubes, right? And with these being visible, I can of course inflate them and make them much, much thicker, right? Maybe I'll do something like this. Let me jump out of the polyframe to show you. You see what I've done. I just made them much thicker, right? Do Control Shift and click to bring everything back. And now we have this, right? All right, so you can decide if you like that. I'm gonna select my eyes and I'm gonna do Control D a couple times. And I would love to make them a little more interesting instead of just having these spheres. So to do that, I'm gonna grab my dynamic and let me just literally press X to make sure I have active symmetry. And I can flatten just the front of them, right, like this. And I wouldn't mind going to my standard brush. Let me do drag rectangular and let me do something like this alpha 26 with a sub, and I'm going to do a lot of intensity. And essentially what I want to create is just a couple pupils, right? So I can just start dragging this and do something like this. I am going to change my focal shift to be much sharper. So that is pretty cool right there, right? And now I wouldn't mind getting rid of those little cones. So I'm going to grab my trim again and just literally trim these cones down, right? And that's going to create a really interesting effect where these look a lot like some kind of eyes, right? So that's the thing. Let's go ahead and do BPR. Let's take a look. All right, if I wanted to create, you know, maybe add a little more detail to the hands, I can of course turn on my active symmetry on. Let's do inflate, and we can just inflate some of these and just maybe break these fingers up. So I'm gonna do like the top one, middle one, maybe the bottom one. And you don't have to do this, but it's gonna create maybe a little more interesting, you know, something a little more interesting to the hands where they feel kind of super creepy, in my opinion. Okay, I like that. Maybe I can emphasize this a little more, just make it a little stronger. Maybe give him stronger shoulders. Maybe he's, you know, he's been working out a little bit. And let's see, what else can we do? I can go to my standard brush. Let me do drag rectangular, and let's switch this to something like alpha 62. And what we could do, let's go back to our focal shift to 0. We can just very quickly go around this little hat of his and maybe just do something like this, where we just have like this detail going all the way around. And I think that's going to be really interesting as well. Let me just do that really quick. So it almost feels like there's some kind of a border of some sort. All right, and you can see how all of these little details keep adding up and making it feel a little more fun, right? If I wanted to, I can go to, let's go back to our spray, and let's just spray some more stuff. Maybe we'll do, let's do some of these alpha 22. They almost look like little veins. Maybe I can do an add, and oops, definitely a lot less intensity. And maybe I can just do something like this, where it feels a little more veiny, right? Let's do that really quick. And that's going to be on top of this other noise that we already have. But essentially, I'm just kind of making it feel more foresty, you know? So using alphas is very powerful, very quick way to go from something that looks one way to very quickly changing how it looks, right? I like everything. The only thing I'm not sure about is I feel like his waist right here is too thick for some reason. Let me actually change this to be more, yeah, more like that. I think that's a little bit better. Just make it feel a little more flowy. Alright, you guys, I hope you also created something really fun. And again, this is for Discord. If you would like to share your work and you created a crazy monster, please post it. It would be fun to see. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in our next video.